Good morning, and welcome to Caretaker's Corner, where we discuss everything that has to do with taking care of our elderly disabled parents, our disabled spouses, and our adult disabled children. My name is CJ, and I hope I'm able to help you every day in all of these videos. Last week, I started a video over communication, quality communication, good communication. Communication skills are a must in life, but specifically with caretaking, because communication is difficult in a caretaking relationship. As I mentioned, your loved one may not be able to talk, they may not be able to hear, they may not be able to properly comprehend, they may not be able to remember conversations, either due to medication or due to dementia or all sorts of reasons. So I mentioned that there are several aspects to good quality communication, and you've got active listening, empathy, verbal, nonverbal communications, body language, and emotional intelligence. And so this week I am going to discuss empathy. I think empathy is very important in life, just to be very, people need to be, I think personally, a lot more empathetic. But empathy gives you the ability to see things from another aspect, I believe. So empathy is the ability to understand and share another person's feelings and experiences. So it's kind of like putting yourself in their boots, their shoes. It's the ability to sense other people's emotions, coupled with the ability to imagine what someone else might be thinking or feeling. Now, this is really hard in a lot of cases because we get so busy doing stuff that we don't necessarily spend the time to pay attention to our loved ones. I mean, our lives are totally dedicated to their care, and part of that care is communication and is being empathetic, but we tend to forget that. We tend to be like, what do you want? What do you want now? I want to get this taken care of so I can get on to the next step. I am very guilty of it. I have, taken care of multiple people at a time in my life, and you got to go from one to another, and you just want to get everything done. And sometimes we have to step back and say, well, what might they be feeling? Why are they maybe acting out or getting upset? And tackle things from a different perspective. I know that sometimes you have to stop and think, like, we're looking at possibly getting another house or renovating, and we've been discussing it, and we were looking at a house, and Barbara was absolutely not. She didn't want it, and because it had propane. And so we had to stop. I had to stop because I was getting really stressed out and upset, and think, well, why would she not want that? Well, she had a childhood where there were some sketchy propane heaters in her life, and she's terrified of fires. They had some issues while she was growing up. So this is just one of the many instances. And one I really like to point out is your family member and you are both grieving for what is gone. Whether it's your parents aging and you're grieving about them not being the vital parents you're used to, or whether it is your future with your spouse, the way you all pictured it being gone. You're grieving. That is a grief. If you have an adult child, you've been grieving for probably their entire lives over the fact that they're not going to have the life that you wanted them to have when you were pregnant or giving birth to them. And because of that grieving, we tend to isolate ourselves. But you got to remember, our loved ones are grieving harder than we are. Your parent is upset that they are getting older every year. I mean, I think it's a great thing that I get older every year, but a lot of people don't. And they're grieving for the loss of their youth. loss of their ability to be able to take care of themselves and to be able to go where they want to go when they want to go there. And that is a very hard thing for someone to go through. And they tend to be depressed, act out, angry when you have to take them somewhere because they can't drive themselves, angry because they can't cook their own food. If they're extremely disabled, you may have to help feed, clothe, bathe them, and all of this is very upsetting for them because they can no longer do this for themselves. And this is the same with your disabled spouse, especially if it is a sudden disability and not a gradual disability. I know with my brother, we had a terrible problem with depression when, because we were, he was 21 when he was in a wheelchair and had lost the use of his legs. And that's a rough age to have to be in a wheelchair and to lose that ability. So he had a lot of depression issues, and it took a while to get him over that. And, I was very sympathetic and empathetic to him. And I was able to help him with some of those issues. Not quite the way you might think I did. I mean, he was worried about people seeing him in his wheelchair, and he was embarrassed about it. So I just kind of opened the door, threw him outside, and locked the door. My brother was very talkative. He had made friends within 20 minutes and had a whole new outlook on life. But that's things that we have to keep in mind when we're talking about being empathetic. Are there ways that, first thing, we need to put ourselves in their shoes. We need to think about what they're going through. There are we need to be able to go, if I were in this position, what would I do to make things better? Sometimes it's just a matter of, should I move something to another location to make it easier for them? And that will change their whole day and their whole outlook. We need to take those steps to try and figure it out. So I've got a few tips to help with being more empathetic. The basic is just, active listening. Sit there, let them talk. Truly listen to what they're saying and don't take it personally. They will get upset. They will blame you specifically because you are there for them to blame. Not that they think it's your fault, not that they think it's you, but because you are there and they are able to put that on you because you are their caretaker. You are the most important person in their lives, whether you think you are or not, whether they act like you are or not. You are truly their number one person because they depend upon every aspect of their life for you. You're there. You're it. And that is a hard thing to remember because, most everybody I know that's a caretaker also works 40 to 80 hours a week. They take care of at least one person, if not multiple people. And that is very stressful. And so being able to step back and be empathetic to another person is hard. Being able to shut your mouth, and I am very guilty of this, and listen to another person, let them speak everything out, and then sit back and ponder what they said, take it to heart, take the aspects of it to heart, not where they're just dissing on you to heart, and to be able to come up with a game plan, or something to help them. So there are some communication aspects of communication that's across all. So it doesn't matter what topic I'm going to be discussing, these will be the basic for all of them. So to help improve with being empathetic, you need to be able to observe the person's body, their breathing, their posture, facial expressions. This will give you a sense of how they're feeling. Are they stressed? Are they depressed? Are they sick? Because that's a whole different thing, especially in the elderly. An elderly person with an infection may not realize at all what they are saying. And they may be tearing you a new butthole, and they just don't realize it. And they won't remember it when it's all over either. So these are things that not only being empathetic will help you understand where they're coming from, it'll help you understand, be able to tell when they're sick and when they're having other issues such as emotional. Like I said, active listening, let them get it out. Do not change the subject unless you think it's the only way to. Sometimes when people are very angry, and they're raging, just yelling and screaming and raging, sometimes that is a point where you need to redirect them to a more positive subject. So there are times I feel even when you're trying in active listening and trying to be empathetic, that you do need to interrupt in order to change the subject. Because sometimes they'll just go off for no reason and constantly go, and the more they go off, the more anger they do, the worse they're feeling. It's also very unhealthy for them physically. So sometimes you do need to step in if it's an anger issue, in order to get them to reset. And then you can go back to the subject once they've calmed down and find out what the real issue is. Because usually what they're actually going off about is not usually what the actual issue is. So that's an important thing to remember in any situation. Let them talk it out. And as they're talking, see if you can figure out like I just said, like what the actual issue is. Like when they're raging, usually that's not, what they're raging about. It's just kind of like the camel that broke, the straw that broke the camel's back. And it's actually a different issue entirely. Once they've finished talking, ask clarifying questions. Because this is how you're going to get to the root of the issue. I'm angry about, my mother-in-law one time was angry that I did not make her coffee first thing in the morning. And the issue actually wasn't that she was mad I didn't make the coffee. She was just mad that she couldn't do it herself, and that the coffee maker was far away, and that, there's literally a whole list of things that were the issue. But she did say that because I did not make the coffee for her, she was going to report me for old people abuse. Not old people abuse, by the way. Not giving them coffee. That is not old people abuse. Just an FYI. When you're being empathetic and you're having these talks out, be sure and be compassionate and understanding. If they're being critical, do not take it to heart. Do not get angry at them and go, oh, well, yeah, well, you take it, go, well, let's see what we can do. Let's see how we can adjust things, and let's see how we can make this better for you and for me. Sometimes it's something that you need to take to a doctor because it is a medicine issue. But once again, if you're watching and you're being really empathetic and you're noticing how they're acting, and you're used to how they are on their medicine, you're going to notice if a change in medicine has caused a change in them. And if it's a medicine thing, you have to go to the doctor. They can't control that. But sometimes it takes having all these conversations and just sitting down and talking to figure it out and to understand what's going on. Now, I've got a few tips for you caretakers out there. Being empathetic can be emotionally draining, and it can be physically draining. Anytime you deal with emotions, it affects your body physically. And whether this is anger, it triggers different chemicals in your body. And that is why your body can be physically exhausted after just talking to someone. I've worked with people that had some emotional issues, and an 8-hour shift working with them was like a roller coaster ride of everything. Their ups and downs would be so high and low. And with my in-laws, I had that problem quite a lot. I love them to death, but they could go from happy to sad to angry in a matter of minutes. And it is emotionally draining for us. So I have a few suggestions to kind of help you with this. My first suggestion, as I've been saying for a while, take your 15 minutes. Take that 15 minutes every day. You need it. It is only 15 minutes. It will make a huge difference on your life. And in this case, it will make a difference on your body. It will allow you to calm your mind and your spirit and able to continue to be empathetic and to be able to understand what the other person's saying. It'll also give you a moment, the ability to have clarity and to review what was said so that you can take the next steps that might be needed to help alleviate the issues. You know, if it's like in my mother-in-law situation, it was she couldn't get to the coffee maker. So we bought carafes. So I could make the coffee, fill the carafes up, put it over there. She'd have all the coffee she wants. So just remember, take that 15 minutes. Go for a drive. Go for a walk. If you have a pet a pet for 15 minutes. It is apparently one of the most scientifically proven way to relieve stress and make you happy. Go somewhere where nobody can find you and scream like crazy. I find driving in the country and screaming in your car is very helpful, and nobody thinks you're weird when you're doing that. You have to be in a good place emotionally to be able to be empathetic. So that's a very important thing to remember. You have to set yourself up right so you can be able to be that empathetic person that your family member needs. I always suggest to prioritize sleep, diet, and exercise. And that's because that will help keep you in a good emotional state. Exhaustion, and we know, we know sleep is something that as caretakers, we do not get enough of. And I'm not sure about your all's diet, but we work really hard on mine because of I have medical issues. And normally I exercise several times a week. Right now we're doing a lot of work I'm having to do a lot of work for my job, and the hours are crazy right now. But it's very important, and we don't prioritize these in ourselves, although we do push them on those what we take care of. Good diet, exercise, sleep. We ask our loved ones to do this, but we fail to do it for ourselves. When you're not doing that, that puts you in a bad mental state. It puts your emotions in a bad spot. Your body's releasing different chemicals, and in order to compensate, it's not healthy for you. So try and prioritize that. Another thing I'm going to suggest, I read this the other day, so I'm not taking credit for this, but keep a caretaker journal. Record your thoughts about the conversations. Recording the conversations will actually help, like with your phone, because then you can go back and see, listen to see what you said, what they said, and it might help you clarify some things. But write down your thoughts about whatever conversations you're having. You might find that when you do this, that you're able to, free write it out and figure out what's going on. It'll also help keep you from it. I mean, I find that journaling when I'm really stressed out helps relieve my stress. But also, you'll have this on record for later. If there's any medical issues you need to show a doctor, you can go back to, this is the date that we started having this problem. Like medicines can cause, especially in elderly, some mental and emotional issues. Like with my dad, every time they changed his diabetic medicines, we had all sorts of issues, and he'd go from being a perfectly normal individual, as normal as he could be, to he would sound like a baby when he was talking because his blood sugar had dropped. And keeping a journal that lets me know, hey, this is what he did that day, I can go to the doctor and say, look, this is what happened, and you guys had just changed his medicine. So try journaling. I think there's a lot of help that can be happening with the journal. Meditation and mindfulness. And I am very big on this. I try to meditate 5 to 10 minutes every day, specifically before work. And it has helped me notice, personally, it's helped improve. It puts me in a good spot before work because I try and do it before work. But I also find it's helped me realize bodily what's going on with me, so that I'm more able to know what's going on with me, so I'm more able to be able to help others. So it really does help you, and it also helps you realize what your limits are, and it gives you a chance to calm yourself in the event that things just get way out of the way for you. So those are the suggestions that I have as far as empathy goes. There are several other videos I'll be doing over the other aspects of communicating. I'm really, I feel that communication is very important, especially in our caretaking situations. So I hope this has helped you. If you have any suggestions, please put them in the comments. Please like, subscribe, and share. And I will see you next week. Have a wonderful day.